Discipline your mind every morning. Have you ever wondered why some days spiral into stress from the moment you wake up? What if a few intentional morning habits could flip chaos into calm before your day even begins? Could ancient wisdom from Stoic philosophers hold the key to a focused and unshakable morning mindset? These questions point to a fundamental truth. Our mornings set the tone for our entire day. By disciplining your mind each morning, you can transform how you handle tasks, obstacles, and emotions. In this guide, we will explore 11 practical lessons inspired by Stoic philosophy and real-life examples to help you train your mind every morning. Embrace these lessons and observe how a steady morning routine can lead to greater clarity, productivity, and inner peace. Lesson 1. Quietly start the day. Every new day begins in a fragile mental state. The moment you open your eyes, your mind is vulnerable and impressionable. If you immediately flood it with noise, alarm bells, phone notifications, rushing out of bed, you risk losing your mental footing. Quietly starting the day means taking a few minutes to sit in stillness. No phone, no chatter, no scrolling, just silence. This simple practice serves as a reset for your internal operating system, shifting you from grogginess and reactive anxiety to a state of calm control. Modern research backs this up. Even brief periods of morning silence can lower stress hormones, like cortisol, and improve focus. In other words, a silent pause is not just a spiritual ritual. It's a mental strategy to ease your body and brain into the day on your terms. Consider the example of a tech startup CEO named Adam. Each morning, before opening his laptop or checking email, Adam sits in a chair, closes his eyes, takes a few deep breaths, and remains in quiet stillness for 5 minutes. He doesn't call it meditation. There's no special app or background music. It's simply a moment to remind himself, I am alive and I am in charge of this day. The impact has been profound. By practicing morning silence, Adam found he no longer reacts impulsively to bad news or sudden problems. Instead, he responds thoughtfully. This ability to respond rather than react is a clear sign of a trained mind. Science concurs that such moments of quiet can calm the nervous system and lower cortisol, the stress hormone, setting a stable foundation for the day. Over 1,800 years ago, the Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius recognized the power of internal stillness. He wrote that nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. In Aurelius's time, as in ours, the outside world was full of noise and demands. His advice reminds us that the most peaceful refuge is not a distant place or a vacation. It's our inner self. By beginning your morning in quiet retreat, you reclaim control of your mind before the world intrudes. This lesson isn't about being lazy or avoiding the day. It's about initiating the day with intention instead of reaction. Give yourself 3 to 5 minutes of quiet each morning. This small act of discipline primes you to meet the day with composure and self-mastery, exactly as the Stoics intended. Lesson 2. Identify the virtue of the day in Stoic philosophy. External rewards, money, status, success, are fleeting and largely beyond our control. What truly belongs to you are your character and virtue. Identifying a virtue of the day means choosing one core quality to cultivate from the moment you wake up. It could be patience, honesty, courage, self-control, or any virtue you deem important. By picking one virtue each morning, you give your mind a theme to focus on, a guiding principle for all your actions that day. Ask yourself upon waking, what is my virtue for today? This simple question acts like a compass for your decisions. If you choose patience, then every time you encounter delay or frustration, traffic jams, slow internet, a coworker running late, treat it as your training ground. For example, when stuck in traffic, you might normally get irritated. But if you've committed to patience, you remind yourself, this is my chance to practice patience. Take a deep breath, relax the tension in your grip, and observe your irritation without giving into it. In doing so, you're actively training your mind in real conditions, not just in theory. A day that might have been filled with annoyance becomes instead a day of growth. Even mundane moments gain purpose because they serve your chosen virtue. Starting the day with a virtue in mind also cuts through mental clutter. Many people feel lost in the mornings, unsure what to prioritize, and easily swayed by moods or minor crises. A clear focus on one virtuous quality can anchor you. It simplifies decision-making. Every action can be measured against the question, does this reflect my virtue of the day? If you decided on honesty, then that difficult conversation you've been avoiding will be approached with transparency and courage. If you chose compassion, you'll be more attentive and kind in your interactions, even under stress. Rather than drifting on autopilot, you navigate the day with intention. Marcus Aurelius offers a powerful reflection on this idea. He wrote in his Meditations, "Imagine today were the last day of your life. What state of mind would you want to have? Would you spend it with anger and envy, or with calm courage and genuine kindness?" Aurelius urges, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. In other words, since life is uncertain, we should live today as virtuously as possible, as if it were our last chance to be a good person. By choosing a daily virtue and training it, you ensure that, whether or not it really is your last day, your mind is focused on what truly matters. Every morning, decide who you will be, then live out that decision through your actions. This is how Stoics sharpen the mind like a blade, not in emergencies or grand events, but in the small moments of everyday life. Lesson 3. Practice. Premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. Even with the best intentions, days rarely unfold exactly as we hope. A critical lesson from Stoicism is premeditatio malorum, Latin for the premeditation of evils, or in plain terms, negative visualization. This practice involves mentally rehearsing what could go wrong before you start your day, not to be pessimistic, but to prepare your mind for challenges. By briefly imagining possible obstacles each morning, you strip those events of their surprise and power over you. You won't be caught off guard because, in a sense, you've seen it coming and are ready to respond calmly. How can you apply this? Take a few minutes in the morning to forecast the day's potential difficulties. For example, you have an important meeting scheduled. As you sip your coffee, deliberately envision things that might not go as planned. What if my internet connection drops during the video call? What if a colleague challenges my proposal? What if my project runs into an unexpected snag? Rather than inducing anxiety, this exercise prompts you to devise solutions or mental responses ahead of time. If you imagine the internet outage, you might prepare a backup internet hotspot. If you foresee tough questions from a colleague, you'll review your data more thoroughly. This is proactive mental training. The Stoic teacher Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our power and be ready to accept what isn't. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens, he advised. Premeditatio malorum embodies this idea. You don't control whether it rains on your commute, but you do control bringing an umbrella. You can't control technical glitches, but you can have a plan B. By mentally bracing for difficulties, you remind yourself that setbacks are normal, and you commit to facing them with poise rather than panic. Modern psychology calls this kind of practice mental rehearsal. Elite athletes, for instance, routinely visualize mishaps like a fall or a fumble and how they'll recover long before they compete. This training helps their nervous system stay steady under pressure. Similarly, when you have visualized a stressful customer complaint or a sudden schedule change, you are far less shaken if and when it happens. Your mind thinks, I expected this, and you switch into solution mode instead of despair. The bonus is that negative visualization often drives action. If you picture a key report might be missing, you'll take a moment to double-check it now. Thus, you prevent some problems outright and meet the rest with resilience. Starting tomorrow, try this. Each morning, spend 3 minutes visualizing a few ways the day could go wrong. Not to dwell in fear, but to say to yourself, if X happens, I won't be surprised or helpless. I'll handle it. You'll find that you move through the day with a quiet confidence, like a warrior who has trained for every battle scenario. Your mind remains disciplined and unflustered by events that used to cause stress. Stoic philosopher Seneca captured it well. The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. Prepared in this way, you become nearly unshakable. Lesson 4. Distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot. One of the core tenets of Stoicism, and a pillar of mental discipline, is understanding the dichotomy of control. Every morning, remind yourself that some things are within your control and others are entirely outside your control. Misery often comes from failing to tell the difference. Thus, lesson 4 is to start each day by clearly distinguishing between what you can control and what you can't, so you focus your energy where it matters. Imagine you're preparing for a presentation. You can control how well you know your material, how much you practice, your punctuality, and even the outfit you wear. But you cannot control whether the audience will be receptive, whether the projector will malfunction, or if a surprise question will stump you. If you spend your morning worrying about audience reactions or possible tech failures beyond your control, you'll only work yourself into anxiety. The Stoic approach is to pour your effort into what is up to you. Practice thoroughly. Have backup copies of your slides. Test the projector beforehand if possible, and mentally release the rest. Epictetus, in his discourses, put it succinctly. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. That means do your very best with the factors you can influence and accept whatever outcomes arrive from the factors you cannot. Each morning, take a piece of paper and make 2 short lists. Things I can control today and things I cannot control. For example, you can control your effort, attitude, choices, and responses. You cannot control the weather, other people's opinions, yesterday's mistakes, or random events. By writing these down, You train your mind to let go of the uncontrollable and not waste energy on it. This practice is liberating. If it starts raining during your morning run, you won't feel angry at the sky. You knew the weather isn't up to you, and you brought a jacket. If a colleague is in a bad mood, you won't take it personally. You recognize their mood is their issue, not something you caused or can fix. Instead, you'll concentrate on the things you do control. Maybe offering help or simply controlling your own reaction to their negativity. Marcus Aurelius echoed this wisdom in Meditations. He observed that while we can't dictate external events, we can always choose our response and attitude. If someone insults you, it's your opinion of the insult that causes anger, not the words themselves, he would say. Thus, by focusing only on what is yours to manage, your opinions, your actions, you protect your inner tranquility. As you begin your day, tell yourself, "Today I will own my decisions and reactions. Everything else, I will not fret over." This mindset creates a shield around your peace of mind. It doesn't mean you become passive. On the contrary, by not wasting effort on futile worries, you become more effective in the areas where your actions count. Try this habit for a week. Each morning, identify 3 things under your control. Perhaps your tone of voice, how you schedule your time, or tackling a task you've been avoiding. And 3 things not under your control, like traffic, an upcoming policy change at work, or a colleague's attitude. Vow to focus on the first list and mentally dismiss the second. You'll likely notice a significant reduction in stress. By consistently choosing to direct your mental energy toward what you can change, you cultivate a sense of empowerment and serenity. This is the Stoic secret to avoiding unnecessary suffering. Concern yourself only with what you can influence and embrace whatever lies beyond with grace. Lesson 5. Take action immediately. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. It's a common modern trap to wait for the perfect moment, waiting until you feel inspired or until conditions are just right before you start something important. The Stoics vigorously rejected this way of thinking. They believed that action, especially right action, should not be postponed. Lesson 5 is about building the discipline to act now, without waiting for motivation to magically strike. In the morning, this means getting up and getting started on your day's work or priorities promptly, as an act of will and character. Have you ever hit the snooze button repeatedly or lingered in bed scrolling on your phone, telling yourself you're not a morning person, or you'll get moving when you feel more ready? Stoic wisdom would gently admonish, don't indulge those excuses. Marcus Aurelius, who often struggled with rising at dawn, gave himself a pep talk in his writings. At daybreak, when you are reluctant to rise, have this thought in mind: I am rising to do the work of a human being star. He reminds himself, and us, that we weren't born to lounge in comfort, but to fulfill our purpose and responsibilities. Even the Emperor of Rome had to coax himself out of bed, arguing that doing good work is part of human nature. In a humorous yet stern passage, Aurelius asks if we were made to nuzzle under the bedclothes and keep warm, rather than doing our duties. The obvious answer is no. We are rational beings meant for action. The takeaway is that discipline precedes motivation. In fact, taking action often creates motivation. Modern neuroscience agrees. Accomplishing a small task, like making your bed or exercising briefly, can trigger dopamine release in the brain, which in turn fuels motivation for the next task. So, the Stoics would say, don't wait to feel ready, just begin. If you decided last night that you'll go for a run or start writing a report first thing in the morning, then when morning comes, do it immediately. Don't negotiate with yourself about extra rest or check trivial emails first. Those are the mind's tricks to delay effort. By overcoming that initial resistance, you win a crucial victory over inertia and set a positive tone for your day. Point one of Stoicism's great teachers, Epictetus, put it plainly. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If you've defined that you want to be a productive, honorable person, then when morning arrives, act accordingly. Do the work that aligns with that identity, whether you feel like it or not. Over time, this consistent practice actually makes the action easier because it becomes a habit. For example, if every day you push yourself to start your main task by 9 a.m. without procrastination, eventually your mind stops fighting it. Morning work becomes your new normal, almost automatic. Implement Lesson 5. Create a simple morning rule. Your day's first steps belong to you, not to mood or chance. You might commit to a routine like get up with the first alarm, drink water, stretch, or shower, and then immediately spend at least 15 minutes on your top priority task, be it exercise, writing, studying, etc. Treat this as non-negotiable. Some days you'll feel sluggish or unmotivated, but push through and start anyway. By taking action, you'll often find that energy and focus follow. The Stoics understood that we are action-oriented creatures. As Aurelius wrote, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. The more you live this lesson, the more you reinforce the mindset that you control your morning, not your fleeting feelings. This is true inner discipline, doing what is right and necessary, especially when you don't want to, without delay. Lesson 6. Memento mori. Remember your mortality each morning. Perhaps nothing brings focus to the mind quite like the reminder that our time is limited. The Stoics often contemplated mortality, not morbidly, but as a way to spur themselves into living fully and gratefully. Memento mori means remember you will die. As a morning practice, this lesson invites you to start the day with a gentle acknowledgement. Life is finite, and today is an immense gift that many did not receive. Rather than this thought depressing you, it can awaken a sense of urgency and appreciation. It ensures you won't waste the morning on trivialities or postpone meaningful actions, because you understand that each day is precious and not to be taken for granted. That on a practical level, you can implement memento mori by taking a moment at breakfast or while getting dressed to reflect. If this were the last day of my life, would I be content with how I plan to spend it? What important things have I been putting off? This isn't to suggest you abandon all routine and chase a bucket list daily. Instead, it helps you prioritize what truly matters. Minor irritations lose their sting. Why stay angry about a traffic jam or a spilled coffee if you remember life is too short for such pettiness? Important but intimidating tasks gain clarity. If you've been meaning to reach out to a loved one or start writing that book, the thought of mortality nudges you to do it now, rather than deferring it indefinitely. Marcus Aurelius offered this stark reminder to himself. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. In other words, we should live with the awareness that each moment could be our last, and let that awareness guide our behavior toward virtue and meaning. When you begin your day remembering that someday will be your last, and it could, in fact, be today, procrastination and indifference seem absurd. Instead of sleepwalking through your morning on autopilot, you become fully awake. You might take that extra moment to hug your spouse or child and tell them you love them. You won't put off the exercise that keeps you healthy or the creative project that fulfills you because you realize now is the time to act. Embracing memento mori each morning also builds resilience. Small setbacks or inconveniences won't derail your mood as easily because in the grand scheme, you know what matters: being a good person, doing good work, and appreciating life's simple blessings. The Stoic philosopher Seneca advised, begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. Seeing each day as a complete lifetime of its own can help you be present and intentional from the moment you wake up. If during your day you catch yourself saying, "I'll do that later," or "there's always tomorrow," memento mori whispers, tomorrow is not promised. If it's important, do it today. This doesn't mean living in fear of death. It means living with greater vitality because of death. It is a perspective that adds intensity and sincerity to your mornings. To practice this, you might keep a small token by your bedside, a reminder of mortality. Some people use a skull symbol or a note with a phrase like, "Remember death." When you see it at dawn, let it remind you, "I am mortal," not to instill dread, but to galvanize your spirit. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, "I am alive today. Let me not waste it." This mindset will infuse even your morning routine with purpose. Rather than dreading the day, you greet it as an opportunity that won't come again. With memento mori, you train your mind to avoid complacency. You start treating each morning, each task, each interaction as valuable. Over time, this makes you more grateful, more courageous, and more disciplined because you are truly living, not just existing. Lesson 7. Embrace amor fati. Love whatever happens. Life is unpredictable. Despite our plans, each day can bring challenges or surprises, some joyous, some painful. The Stoic response to this uncertainty is encapsulated in amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. It's more than mere acceptance. It's about embracing everything that occurs, whether good or bad, as necessary and beneficial in some way. Lesson 7 is training your mind each morning to say, "I will welcome whatever this day brings." This proactive form of acceptance ensures that external events don't derail your inner discipline or peace. How can you practice amor fati when you wake up? One method is through a brief affirmation or meditation. As you get out of bed, remind yourself, today, there may be inconveniences or crises. I vow to meet them with an open heart and make the best of them. By doing this, you precondition your mind to handle surprises gracefully. For example, say you head to work and your car won't start, or the train is delayed. Instead of immediately getting upset, "Why me? This is ruining my day," the amor fati mindset kicks in. You take a breath and think, "All right, this is the challenge of the day. How can I turn it to my advantage or at least navigate it without losing my cool?" Perhaps the car trouble means you have to wait for a mechanic. You use that time to catch up on reading or call a friend you owe a conversation. Maybe a delayed meeting gives you a chance to refine your notes. The specific response matters less than the attitude. Nothing that happens will break you, because you have decided to embrace it all. Epictetus taught a similar idea. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This is the essence of amor fati. Instead of constantly resisting reality, I wish it didn't rain, I wish my boss were nicer, I wish I felt healthier. You say yes to reality. If it's raining, amor fati encourages you to literally or figuratively dance in the rain. If your boss is harsh, amor fati challenges you to learn patience or assertiveness from the situation. By loving whatever happens, you extract value from each experience. This doesn't mean you passively endure injustice or never seek change. It means your inner attitude remains positive and resilient regardless of outcome. You play the hand you're dealt with ingenuity and optimism. Each morning, try to recall a recent bad thing that happened and how it eventually led to some good. Maybe a job rejection pushed you to discover a better opportunity, or an argument cleared the air in a relationship. These reflections strengthen your belief that fate often has hidden gifts. Starting the day with amor fati in mind, you become like a ship with a strong rudder. Whatever winds blow, you steer steadily onward. You smile at adversity and say, here's a chance to practice my principles. Over time, this practice can turn you into a profoundly resilient and optimistic person. Others may marvel at how you keep your composure and even good humor in tough times. It's because you've trained yourself not just to tolerate fate, but to love it. In practical terms, you might incorporate amor fati by setting a tiny ritual. When something annoying or bad happens in your day, consciously whisper, amor fati, to yourself. It's a cue to your mind. Transform this. Spilled coffee? Amor fati. An opportunity to clean up and maybe laugh at your own clumsiness. Big project fell through? Amor fati. Now you have room for a new direction. This habit, started each morning as a mindset, will gradually wire your brain to see silver linings instead of only clouds. Morning by morning, you fortify the belief that every experience is a teacher and that you have the power to turn any circumstance into fuel for growth. That is the power of loving one's fate. Lesson 8. Train your body as you train your mind. Stoicism views the human being as a unity of mind and body. To have a strong, disciplined mind, the Stoics advised keeping the body robust and healthy. In our modern context, this lesson translates to incorporating some form of physical exercise or discipline each morning. By challenging your body, you are also training your mind in willpower, resilience, and the ability to endure discomfort. The Stoic ideal is a sound mind in a sound body. Consider starting your day with a physical routine that suits your fitness level. It could be a 15-minute jog, a series of stretches or yoga poses, a quick set of push-ups and squats, or even a brisk walk around the block. The key is consistency and pushing your body just a little bit beyond its comfort zone. Why do this in the morning? Because it sets a tone of achievement and discipline right away. When you exercise first thing, you are literally overcoming inertia. You're telling yourself, I can do hard things. The sweat and slight muscle burn you feel are immediate feedback that you chose effort over ease. This victory, however small, boosts your confidence and energy for the rest of the day. Physical training also has direct mental benefits. Exercise releases endorphins, the feel-good hormones, which can improve your mood and reduce stress. You've likely noticed that after a workout, you often think more clearly and feel more optimistic. Stoics would say this is your body and mind aligning. A quick run or some vigorous stretches bring you into the present moment, syncing your mental state with your physical action. Petty worries often fade during exercise because your mind is focused on breathing and movement. By the time you finish, those worries frequently seem smaller than before. Thus, a morning workout not only strengthens your muscles or heart, but also cultivates a calmer and more focused mind. But there's also a character-building aspect. Committing to exercise daily, even when you don't feel like it, is a practice in discipline and overcoming excuses. It mirrors the Stoic practice of voluntary hardship. For instance, the Stoics sometimes took cold baths or skipped fancy meals intentionally to train themselves to endure discomfort. When you roll out of a warm bed to do push-ups on a cold morning, you're practicing a mild form of voluntary hardship. You prove to yourself that comfort does not rule you. You can give an order, time to exercise, and your body will obey, even if it prefers to stay cozy. This internal command strengthens your will. If you can win the battle of bed versus workout, you're more likely to win other battles that require self-control, like focusing on work or eating healthily. Incorporating body training into your morning can be as simple as a routine of stretches and breathing exercises if strenuous workouts aren't your style. The aim is to wake up the body and by extension wake up the willpower of the mind. Over time, you'll notice that a strong body supports longer periods of concentration and a stable mood. Even Stoic philosophers like Seneca emphasized exercise. He wrote letters about balancing study with physical activity, noting that too much sedentary life can weaken the mind's vigor. By treating your morning exercise as part of your Stoic practice, you elevate it from a mere workout to a form of self-mastery. Remember, you don't have to train like an Olympic athlete. Even gentle exercise, done with consistency and mindfulness, will yield benefits. What matters is the message you are giving yourself. I care for my body, and I cultivate discipline. Through it, this union of physical and mental training prepares you to face the day with strength and balance. Lesson 9. Read and reflect on Stoic wisdom. Disciplined mind benefits from regular nourishment, mental nourishment in the form of wisdom and perspective. The Stoics were avid readers and writers, often starting or ending their day by contemplating profound ideas. Lesson 9 is to spend a few minutes each morning reading something that provokes thought and reinforces a Stoic mindset, and then reflecting on it briefly. This could be a passage from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, a snippet of Epictetus, a quote from Seneca, or any philosophical or spiritual text that inspires steadiness and virtue. Why do this in the morning? Because at dawn your mind is clearer and less cluttered than it will be later in the day. It's a prime time to imprint a positive, guiding thought that can steer you through whatever comes. Think of it as equipping yourself with a mental tool or compass before you venture out. For example, you might read Aurelius saying, "Do not be overheard complaining, not even to yourself," or Epictetus saying, "We suffer not from events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." Such lines, when absorbed early, become like an internal coach. Later, if you feel irritation or self-pity creeping in, that morning reading might resurface in your mind and remind you to adjust your attitude. To practice this, keep a book of Stoic writings or a collection of insightful quotes by your bedside or breakfast table. Each morning, open it at random or mark it the night before to a certain section. Read maybe 2 to 5 sentences. No need to devour pages. The goal is quality, not quantity, of reflection. After reading, pause for a minute. Ask yourself, how does this apply to my life? What is one thought or action I can carry with me from this? If you read, for instance, Seneca's advice that if you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. You might reflect on how changing your mindset about your job could ease your dissatisfaction more than fantasizing about quitting. This brief contemplation cements the lesson in your memory. Many people journal at this point, writing down the quote and their reaction to it. Writing can further clarify your thoughts and intentions. We'll talk more about journaling in the next lesson. But even if you don't write, simply discussing the idea silently with yourself is powerful. This morning reading habit essentially means learning from a great mind each day. It connects you to a tradition of wisdom that has stood the test of time. Over days and weeks, these small doses of philosophy accumulate. You might find that you've memorized a few favorite quotes, or that you naturally start framing daily events through the lens of what you've read. For example, after reading Epictetus's reminder that some things aren't up to us, you may catch yourself in the middle of a stressful situation and recall, is this within my control? If not, I should let it go. In that way, the morning reading directly shapes your behavior. Beyond Stoic texts, you can also read anything uplifting. Maybe a page of a book on mindfulness, a verse from a religious scripture, or a thoughtful poem. The Stoics believed wisdom is universal, not confined to one school. The essential part is that it's active reading, reading that engages your mind and prompts self-examination. Scanning news or social media first thing doesn't count. Those often agitate rather than ground you. Instead, choose content that elevates your thoughts. By making this a morning ritual, you essentially prime your intellect with the best ideas before the world bombards you with trivial ones. It's like equipping yourself with armor of insight. A mind fed with wisdom in the morning is less hungry for external validation or distraction during the day. You've anchored yourself in clear thinking, and thus you remain more focused and disciplined as hours progress. Lesson 10. Keep a morning journal, self-reflection and writing. Journaling is a powerful practice that the Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, used to examine themselves and reinforce their principles. In the mornings, a brief journaling session can set your intentions and help you learn from yesterday's experiences. Lesson 10 is to use a journal as a mirror for your mind each day. Before diving into your busy schedule, take a few minutes to write down your thoughts, goals, or concerns. This simple act of putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard brings clarity and order to your internal world, which in turn disciplines your mind. What might a morning journal entry include? You could start by outlining the key things you aim to do or how you want to behave today. For example, today I will practice patience during my team meeting and focus on finishing the budget report. I want to remain calm if any conflicts arise. Writing this crystallizes your intentions. It's much harder to forget or ignore a goal once you've articulated it concretely. You might also reflect on yesterday. Yesterday, I lost my temper when the project got delayed. Today, I intend to keep a cooler head and look for solutions. This way, journaling becomes an accountability partner. You're gently calling yourself out on mistakes and committing to improve, which is exactly how Stoics pursued virtue, through constant self-review. The Stoic philosopher Seneca advised in the evenings to review one's day, noting what went well or poorly. In the morning, we can reverse that, preview the day ahead. However, morning journaling doesn't have to be only task-oriented. It can be free-flowing stream of consciousness or gratitude entries too. You might jot down things you're grateful for as you start the day. I'm grateful for a good night's sleep, for the coffee I'm sipping, and for the opportunity to talk with my grandmother later today. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to anxiety and gloom. It reminds you of the abundance already in your life, which helps keep petty frustrations in perspective. If you're not sure how to begin, start with 3 prompts. What? What am I feeling or thinking right now? Why? Why am I feeling this? Or why is this important today? And how? How will I proceed or respond? For instance, what? I feel a bit anxious about the client presentation. Why? Because I really want it to go well and I fear messing up. How? I will practice my talking points once more and remind myself that I've done thorough prep. Then I'll proceed with confidence. In just a few sentences, you've transformed a nebulous anxiety into a clear plan of action. The very act of writing slows down your racing thoughts. It forces you to articulate them logically. Often, when worries or ideas stay in our head, they swirl around endlessly. On paper, we see them objectively. Sometimes you realize a fear was exaggerated once you see it written. Other times you spot a pattern in your behavior that you hadn't noticed before. I always get anxious on Mondays. Perhaps I should adjust my weekend habits or Monday schedule to ease that. These insights are gold for personal growth and mental discipline. Stoics like Aurelius used journaling as a private conversation with themselves. Importantly, he wrote meditations for his eyes only, a space to be brutally honest without fear of judgment. Your journal is the same, a judgment-free zone where you can be completely candid. You're not writing for an audience, so you need not worry about style or polish. You can even scribble fragments, bullet points, or doodles, whatever helps. You express and examine your mind. The value lies in the reflection process, not in producing literature. Finally, consider ending your entry with a one-line affirmation or principle to remember during the day. This could be something like, I will focus on what I can control today, or be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle. Choose a thought that resonates with you and write it down. This becomes your mantra for the day. Close the journal and carry that mantra in your mind. You've now started your morning by clearing the mental fog and setting a purposeful direction. Even if the rest of the day becomes chaotic, you've built a reserve of clarity to return to. Over weeks and months, morning journaling can greatly enhance your self-awareness. You'll notice patterns in your moods and behaviors and can adjust course more quickly. In essence, it's like meeting with a coach who is you every single day. That consistent guidance is invaluable for mastering your inner life. Lesson 11. Cultivate gratitude and forgiveness. The final lesson is one of the most gentle yet most profound habits for mental discipline. practicing gratitude and forgiveness each morning. At first glance, these might seem more like moral virtues than mental training, but make no mistake, they are powerful exercises for your mind. They cleanse negativity, foster resilience, and align your attitude with Stoic serenity. By starting your day with gratitude and a forgiving heart, you prevent many toxic emotions, such as envy, anger, or bitterness, from taking root in your mind, thus keeping it disciplined and focused on positives. Gratitude is the practice of actively recognizing the good in your life. When you wake up, before you rush into the day's duties, pause and acknowledge a few things you are thankful for. They can be very simple. I'm grateful for the warmth of my bed, for having a job to go to, for my friend who checked on me yesterday, and for my healthy body that lets me experience this day. By doing this, you set a tone of contentment. The Stoics understood that craving more and more, or fixating on what's wrong, disturbs our peace. Seneca noted that no person is truly poor who has what is enough, and conversely, no person is rich if they always want more. Gratitude trains you to see that you already have enough, that life has given you plenty to appreciate. This realization can make you calmer and actually more productive, because instead of starting the day from a place of lack, I didn't sleep enough, I have so much I don't have, you start from a place of abundance. I have this. And that blessing, let's build on them. Modern research even shows that people who regularly practice gratitude have lower stress and better mental health. It literally shifts your brain chemistry toward a positive state. Forgiveness in the morning is equally important, though often overlooked. This means consciously releasing any grudges or lingering resentment as you begin the day. If you wake up carrying anger about something someone said yesterday, or guilt/shame about a mistake you made, those feelings will burden your mind like a heavy backpack. Stoicism teaches that holding on to anger is foolish. It only harms the holder. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. Instead of stewing in revenge or resentment, simply decide to let it go and focus on being your best self. Forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of bad behavior or forget lessons learned. It means you refuse to let negativity control you. A morning forgiveness habit could be as simple as taking a deep breath and saying to yourself, whatever offenses or disappointments occurred before today, I choose not to carry them now. I forgive others. I forgive myself. I will meet people afresh. If there's a particular person heavy on your heart, you might imagine sending them goodwill mentally or writing a quick note in your journal, such as, I forgive X for yesterday's remark. I will not let it ruin today. If you wronged someone, resolve to apologize promptly, or if that's not possible, forgive yourself by determining to do better. By clearing these resentments first thing in the morning, you prevent a cascade of negative thoughts from coloring your whole day. Gratitude and forgiveness together create a powerful emotional balance. One fills you with appreciation, the other frees you from bitterness. A grateful heart notices the beauty of a sunny morning rather than cursing the early alarm. A forgiving heart drives to work without rehashing an argument from the day before. This doesn't just make you feel better. It directly contributes to discipline. Why? Because when your mind isn't clouded by grudges or complaints, you can focus your full attention on what needs to be done. You are less likely to get distracted by emotional turmoil or to act out of spite or irritation. Instead, you operate from a place of inner peace. A practical tip. Some people combine this lesson with journaling, lesson 10, by writing down 3 things they're grateful for and 1 person they forgive each morning. Others might do it verbally as a short prayer or meditation. Do whatever resonates with you. The key is consistency. At first, it might feel difficult. When you're upset, gratitude can feel forced, and forgiveness can feel unjustified. But remember, you are doing this for your own mental freedom. Over time, it gets easier, and you may find you carry much less anger day to day. You become someone who quickly acknowledges the good and quickly releases the bad. In Stoic terms, you are focusing on what you can control, your own attitude, and not on what you can't, the past or other people's actions. By starting each day with a light and thankful spirit, you set yourself up to remain composed and purposeful no matter what challenges arise later. Your mind, unburdened by unnecessary negativity, is fully available to meet the tasks and people of the day with clarity and kindness. This is the mark of true inner strength. Conclusion: each of these 11 lessons is a building block for a disciplined mind. By quietly centering yourself, choosing a guiding virtue, visualizing challenges, focusing on your control, taking immediate action, remembering mortality, embracing fate, exercising your body, feeding your mind wisdom, journaling your intentions, and practicing gratitude and forgiveness, you create a powerful morning routine. These habits work together to forge a mindset that is calm, strong, and adaptable. The mindset of a modern Stoic. It may seem like a lot to adopt at once, but you can start with just a few and gradually add more. Even a single lesson applied consistently can make a noticeable difference. The ultimate goal is to start each day on your terms, with intention and clarity, rather than letting circumstances or moods dictate your direction. As the Stoics knew, morning discipline leads to daily excellence. By following these lessons, you take charge of your most precious resource, your mind, and set the course of your day toward greater productivity, peace, and purpose. Begin tomorrow. The early minutes after you wake up are a golden opportunity. Treat them with care and seriousness. Discipline your mind every morning, and soon you will find that your whole life, one day at a time, is moving in a more meaningful and positive direction. The Stoics did this and thrived amidst chaos. You can too. Make each sunrise the starting line for becoming the person you aspire to be. The results, as you will see, are life-changing.